What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today I need to do a little bit of an angry rant because honestly, I'm very frustrated with Fallout 76. This game is so broken, it just drives me nuts the fact that it was even allowed to be released. As of now, I have played over 50 hours of it. I've had a chance to level up, find some items, and do some co-op, but even now, it's still just so obviously not the game we were promised. We had so many great visions of our head of a multiplayer Fallout experience, something that would let us go on giant quests and see the world of this nuclear wasteland in such a bright, fresh way, and instead, this game is a broken travesty. It is full of glitches, the servers love to crash, and even trying to do party chat is sometimes impossible. So it really makes me sit back and wonder how the heck this was even allowed to happen. Well, when it comes to that question, I happen to have what may be a big piece of the puzzle that I got completely by luck. You see, let me tell you a little story. Let's rewind time back to 1 month ago. You see, I live in Dallas, Texas, a great spot to live in if you're somebody who's creative and a big fan of video games. We have a lot of game studios here, places like ZeniMax, who works on Elder Scrolls Online, id, they're the makers of Doom, and even stuff like the creators of Duke Nukem. Everybody is in this one little city, so because of it, when you're out and about, there's a good chance that you'll come across somebody in the game's business. Well, just by pure happenstance, I actually had that 1 month ago. I happened to run into a bunch of high-up developers of Fallout 76, and lucky for me, they were very drunk. You see, about a month ago, a friend of mine was having a birthday party. She just decided to go to this nearby arcade bar. They are very cool. And something that's very interesting in this city, which is we have tons of them. You go there, you play arcade games, and a lot of people like to get wasted. Now, personally, I'm not really a drinker, so I was sober. But while I was there, I was just playing some of the arcade machines, and I heard people behind me talking a lot about Telltale Games. At this point, it had just recently closed, and they were talking about how this would influence the gaming business. Well, obviously, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm always looking for that next big scoop, so I decided to open my ears and listen to what they were talking about. And I realized that they were saying that they had hired a lot of the people. And that's when I noticed that a lot of them had shirts that identified them as Bethesda employees, some of them even marking them as members of management. So I was a little bit intrigued as to who the heck these people were. So when they were talking, I kind of slid up and basically said like, yeah, man, that whole thing with Telltale is insane. I mean, one day they're there, one day they're not. What's going to happen to their games? And so they sort of just started talking to me back, kind of talking about what they do. And that's when I realized that these people were very intoxicated and very much stressed about their project, Fallout 76. Now, this is the cool thing. So a lot of us complain about work. You can't help it. When you're off the clock, you need to vent that stress, to talk about the things that are really troubling you. Well, just by listening to them, I noticed that these people were very, very peculiar. Something that kind of struck me, first of all, is that these people were pretty high up. It looked like somebody who was high up in the art department, somebody who seemed like a made-up programmer, and a couple of them were really high up QA testers. People whose job it was to obviously find and report different bugs. And they told me a lot of different stuff about what it was like to make Fallout 76. So obviously, I was very, very intrigued. Now keep in mind, a month ago, we still knew almost nothing about it. We hadn't seen too many of the giant reveals. We hadn't seen the beta. We hadn't really even knew when the beta was. So I tried to slip in there and get any information I could. So when I got up to them though and started talking, I noticed a lot of very weird stuff about it. I was seriously trying to ask them because I was curious. I wanted to know everything I could about Fallout 76 before it came out. And there were several things they told me that were kind of shocking. The first one being that Fallout 76 did not have sales goals. Now that's very, very peculiar because particularly in the gaming business, what they normally do is everybody gets a bonus throughout the entire studio if the project happens to sell a certain amount of millions of units. And it's normally not a super high number. Like if you're a tiny little indie game, if it sells like 100,000 copies, everybody gets an extra like $2,000 check. And it's a way of basically rewarding everybody's passion and hard work and basically saying a thank you for all of that dedication. Well, in this case, games. Bethesda typically sets very high sales goals because their projects fly off store shelves. I mean, I think Fallout 4 sold 5 million copies the first day. So the fact that they did not set any sales goals, everybody was going to be rewarded equally no matter what work they contributed, is a little bit bizarre because it clearly shows the fact that they were not worried about how this game moves. They knew that eventually people were going to buy it. But something else they said was that they did not care how the game played for the most part. Now, the reason I know that is I was specifically talking to them and I wanted to know what they thought about all the Fallout YouTubers, and they seemed very baffled by this question. It seemed like a lot of these guys didn't watch YouTube, didn't know anything about YouTube, and just basically worked on their jobs, heads down, super focused. Now, I can understand that, but something they talked about is the fact that they didn't ever hear any feedback. They said that there's a whole separate team called community managers that just listens to all the feedback and looks at Twitter, but none of that ever got to the development team. They seriously said that no feedback, no concerns, no anything ever managed to trickle over to the development team. They said that basically they had a huge squad of QA testers who were just playing Fallout 76 inside the base all day long. They're basically at the studio playing, and just basically handing in feedback here and there. So they would come out with an idea, everybody would test it, and if it worked, they kept it, and if it didn't, they cut it. And that was just the only way they had any sort of ideas or feedback. Now, this is also when they revealed the fact that Todd Howard was not around very much. They made it sound like Todd Howard would show up occasionally and kind of grade how the project was coming along, but the way they made it phrased, it sounds like Todd Howard, for the most part, was very, very hands-off in general with Fallout 76, which is kind of baffling because I know a lot of us consider him the face of Bethesda. He's the guy who created a lot of the stuff that we love the most. So seeing them sort of just hand this off to other people and say, all right, go nuts, is worrying to say the least. I wanted Fallout 76 to be very remarkable, to be another entry. Even if it's not technically Fallout 5, I think a lot of us wanted it to be that big new game that would push this series forward, and it certainly isn't. And I think part of it comes down to the fact that they told me straight up that their main priority was just getting it out the door. It didn't matter what it looked like, what the graphics were, didn't matter if it had bad frame rate. Seriously, all that mattered was having it out in November. That's probably a big reason why the beta was so late. Because think about it, the beta was very, very broken. And I know that's kind of just the joke is, LOL, a broken beta. But here's the thing, betas are supposed to be very, very early, so you have a chance to correct the final issues, rebalance guns, come up with new utilization ideas, stuff like that. The beta we got is obviously the final game, which means that they were probably working on it until the very last second. I mean, think about the fact that when they did that big press event, it was in early October, and they invited a lot of different YouTubers to come and play an ultra early build of Fallout 76. And what did they keep saying? The development team was there and kept telling all the YouTubers at this event that this was an earlier build, that they had not even been able to compile the beta at that point. This was a mere 5 weeks before release. How is your game not in a fully playable state 5 weeks before you're going to be putting it on a disc? It is such a clear example to the fact that this game is not really Fallout. It is a smaller project that was made just to see how much they could actually milk the fan base. And that's kind of what frustrates me about this, is the fact that I was going into this with moderately low expectations. I knew there wasn't going to be NPCs and not quests in the typical sense. But how do you screw up something as simple as making it where it has a clear narrative, or making it where I can play the game for 5 hours without getting kicked off the servers? At this point, honestly, I have flat out quit Fallout 76. You guys saw my video, and I'm just so unimpressed with what this project shaped up to be. And now, I guess we're just gonna wait. Supposedly, it's gonna be getting free DLC in the future, but at this point, it's hard to even believe that. This is made as a machine for money. So if they got the idea later on to try and sell some sort of giant exclusive new area, I very likely predict that they'll try it. I mean, why not? You could make it where, hey, this is the Fallout 76 Ultra Vault Companion expansion, and people are gonna pony up. I'm going to look at this game again in 6 months and then 1 year, and we'll see if someday it comes close to the way we imagined it. A Fallout game with friends. Something that works, something that functions, and something that at the very least is fun. What the heck, Bethesda? But what do you think about this? Have you been playing Fallout 76, and is it as bad for you as it was for me? I keep hearing conflicting reports of some people saying that it's this absolute masterpiece of co-op fun, and others having an experience even worse than mine. So I'm curious, what are you facing? Does the game work? Is it a buggy mess? And at this point, did you even bother picking it up? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. You know what? Bethesda gave me this mask, and I really appreciate it, but I think I just knocked off like 5 things in my background. I'm so dumb. Oh, hey. I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.